Okay, today we are taking a look at the Tracfone LG Dynamic 2. This is the latest Tracfone Android to be offered either at Walmart or on the Tracfone website. This one retails for $129.99 and it is CDMA technology. What that means to you is that Tracfone will activate this phone with either Verizon or Sprint. Specs on this one are a 1 gig processor, 4 gig pre-installed SD card, 3 megapixel camera, and it does come with Android 4.1, which is Jelly Bean. Now if you look on the Tracfone website, or perhaps you go to Walmart, you'll see another LG Dynamic. Just be aware that this phone does not even resemble that phone. I think they just reused the name because of the popularity of the original one, I guess. Maybe they sold a lot of them, I'm not sure. But this phone is not remotely anything like the original Dynamic, not in design, performance, or Android version. That other phone is completely different. Now the highlight on this phone, or the main reason why you would even consider this phone in my opinion, is because it's probably one of the more attractive Tracfone Androids when compared to the other 3 or 4 models that they have. I just find this model to be just a little bit more attractive than, for example, the ZTE or the Huawei, and even the Samsung Centura. This one's just a little bit more modern looking, but you do pay $30 more than 2 or 3 of the other models, which come with the same, if not very similar specs. But the only thing offhand that I can think of in terms of specs that's different from this to the other ones is that the other ones have a 3.5-inch screen, where this one has a 3.8-inch screen. But so it's not a huge deal. But again, the design is pretty attractive. The back here, you have a gloss black battery cover, which does tend to get a lot of fingerprints and such. Now note that the camera on this phone does not have an LED flash, so that's one thing to mention there. Now around the phone you have a silver trim running the perimeter of the phone. And then probably what's unusual about this one compared to the other ones is that you get 4 Android buttons at the bottom instead of the usual 3. Now one thing to note on these buttons is that they don't light up on this model for some reason. They're like a reflective chrome, silver, whatever you want to call it, but they don't light up when you touch them. So that's kind of one thing to note on this phone. Now the rest of the design is fairly straightforward. You have the volume here on the left. Of course you got your 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, and then on the right hand side you have the lock / power button. And then finally on the bottom you have your charge. Of course it is all plastic construction, including the screen material. Now the main thing that I really like about this one is the fact that the screen pretty much takes up the entire front of this phone. As you can see, there's very little space on the sides and the top and bottom. Some of the other ones have like a lot of space down here, or they just don't look as sophisticated, I guess, if you will, is the best word I can describe it, compared to the other ones. Now measurement wise, this phone is fairly compact. Here it is with the playing card, so you can see it's about an inch or so taller than the playing card and just as wide. Next we'll go ahead and measure it so you can see what the dimensions on this thing are. It's about 2.5 wide, as you can see there, 2.52. The height is about 4.5, I believe. You got 4.4 in the height, and the thickness is a standard about 1/2 inch. That's usually where most of these sit. And then, as I said, the screen on this guy is 3.8 8 inches, as you can see there, whereas the other ones currently offered by Tracfone, I think the other ones are all 3.5, and I think the original dynamic might be even 3.2 inch, which is also currently being offered, by the way. Now, for the weight on this phone, it weighs about 4.5 ounces or so. As you can see, I have 4.25. I weighed it earlier and it was more like 4.5. So 4.25 to 4.5 is the weight on the phone. Now, as far as the Android OS goes, it's pretty standard. You pretty much get all the standard Google stuff. The one thing that's missing out of this phone for some reason, and I don't know if you can download, is the navigation program. And I'm not sure why. The other track phones do have the navigation app. This one only has Google Maps. Now, I haven't used Google Maps lately, so perhaps they've replaced or upgraded Google Maps to kind of do both things, to kind of replace the previous navigation app. That I am not sure of, but do note that there is no navigation app on this phone. Now, the phone does have GPS capabilities, so you can use Google Maps to navigate just fine. It just does not have that app called navigation, is what I mean by that. Of course, you got the Google Play Store, and if you're not familiar with these Tracfone Android plans, be aware that the Google Play Store is its own entity, so it's not connected to Tracfone in any way. Tracfone doesn't charge you, other than the data, of course, that you're already paying for anyway. But the apps are completely independent of Tracfone. They're all handled by Google. You will need a Google account, and of course you can download all the free apps that you want and paid ones as well. But you will need a Google account to do that. Next, of course, you have Gmail, which is standard in all these Androids. There you go. Gmail, you got Google Chrome and your regular browser. And then lastly, you have YouTube. So you have all the standard Google stuff minus the navigation app for some reason. Now, I did download a couple. Again, the Play Store lets you download free apps. And I just downloaded these two just to kind of test the performance on this. This phone performs quite well. You can play all your usual games like Angry Bird. Here we have what do you call this? Candy Crush going on, and this phone performs perfectly on these types of games. There's no hesitation. As you can see, everything is very smooth, as is the navigation from screen to screen. Everything functions nicely and smooth. So despite being an entry-level phone, the performance is quite good on this phone. Next, we'll show you a little bit of Netflix, just simply to show you that this phone has no problems handling Netflix. Now, you probably don't want to watch Netflix simply on the data plan, on the Tracfone data plan, because this thing will suck your data plan dry in no time. Videos will use up a lot of data. So if you want to watch video, try to do it on Wi-Fi. Because on Wi-Fi, Tracfone will not apply your data. They won't use up your data allowance for watching videos. But the whole point of showing you the app is so you can see that it works perfectly fine. There's no hesitation. The video and audio are in perfect sync, which used to be an issue And it was an issue on the original Dynamic. That was a problem. Here it's not a problem. And while I'm showing you this video, I'll point out that the audio quality on this phone is pretty good. You can hear it clearly, and it's not. It doesn't sound bad at all. So the audio quality is pretty good on this phone. Now, as far as the interfaces go, like texting and such, this one's got a standard Android texting interface. Now, this is a relatively small screen, so when you have it in portrait, the keys are somewhat small, but they are responsive. You know, the one you tap is the one you get. Now, of course, you can turn it sideways to get the landscape, and the keys are a little bit bigger. So if you prefer a larger key, then turning it sideways will do that for you. But as you can see, the texting interface is very nice. You have your contact to send to, enter message, send, an attachment. So there's not a whole lot of toggling between screens on this. It's all right there for you. Now the phone interface is pretty straightforward as well. As you can see, you got large number key, and at the top you have several options: call logs, contacts, favorites, groups, etc. So I guess in conclusion, this is a good phone for the money. I won't go as far to say as it's the best track phone for the money, because this one is $30 more expensive than the other 2 or 3 models currently available. And to be honest, the specs on this phone aren't any better than any of the other 2 or 3 models they have on there. And having played around with all of them, I can tell you that the performance isn't much or any better than any of the other phones. This includes the ZTE Valet or the Huawei Glory, which I also have reviews for on the channel if you want to look at those. I think I also have a review of the original Dynamic, which again, this totally does not resemble. So to wrap it up, retails for $129.99. I'd say the only reason you'd want to get this phone is because of the looks. I personally think it looks better than the other ones, but that's totally subjective. Everything else is somewhat equal to a couple of the other Tracfone models out there.